Warning: the podcast you are about to listen to discusses films on the basis of the craft of screenwriting. It contains spoilers. Films discussed may also contain offensive content.
In this episode, we'll be discussing 6 different short films, including Jason's very own original short film, The Captive. Those available on YouTube will have links in the description.
Hello and welcome to Jay and Dave Went to Film School podcast.
Yeah, episode 11.
We're at 11.
Yeah.
Congrats
to us. Yeah, big milestones for everybody. I think so. Again, thank you for listening to us after all this long.
Yeah, whether you're listening on YouTube or Spotify, thanks. It's been a fun ride for 10 episodes, and we're only looking for the fun to continue.
Yeah, as long as you have movies to talk about and time to meet.
And I mean, we haven't talked about all the movies we've seen yet. There's still a few more to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a huge letterbox list of just like hundreds of animation short films that I'd love to talk about. And I'm sure you have an entire DVD collection that spans multiple rooms.
Yeah, that's going to be our focus today, is the short film side. I didn't know you had that many short films.
Oh, no, those are just the full feature-length films that I have.
Okay.
Short films. You know, you are correct. I have a letterbox list that I've been curating for the past couple of months of just animated short films I found on YouTube that have letterbox listings. And there's currently over 670 I've logged on there.
Wow.
I just didn't see anybody had a list that, I guess, comprehensive of just YouTube animation. And it was kind of fun just watching a bunch of student short films as well as studios all around the world making really, really cool stuff that I just don't see in cinema, which is why I love short films and which is why I like YouTube creators. There's just so much inventiveness you can find online. But
yeah, that's I'm looking forward to this episode because it is a unique. It's not a genre. It's more of a.
It's a form, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's just like a feature film or a TV episode. But as short film does imply, it is there's almost the shortest of all those mediums. You get your 3-hour Titanics and Sound of Musics, and your 2-hour blockbusters. You go down to 30 minutes like for a TV episode, then 11 minutes for like a 2-parter cartoon that you find like on a Saturday night. But yeah, these range between like 3 minutes, sometimes 1 minute, all the way up to 10 minutes. So yeah. And they still tell really comprehensive and complete stories.
Yeah, exactly. I really enjoyed the process of writing them. I had written at least one before I came to film school, and then they of course had us write several while we were there.
Yep.
I really loved the process, and yeah, you get those pillar beats in so that the story is complete from beginning to end. Has beginning, middle, and end, and gets a theme in there. And like you said, it's an opportunity, a format, a vehicle for inventiveness and creativity, and you can kind of pack a lot into a little package.
I guess the one, now that you raised it up, the one thing I was kind of surprised about going to film school was the first writing assignment, the biggest one we did, wasn't a short film. It was actually the full feature length, which was kind of daunting because coming from a creative writing background, the first writing assignment I got was writing a short story before writing a full-on novel. So it felt a little bit, it felt like a big jump in the water for me to increase my word count that much. But it was fun. But yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on it? Would you think a student should start off with a short film writing it if they want to get into script writing, or should they go straight into like a big movie or a TV pilot?
I think it depends how much you've studied the craft. Have you done preliminary amount of looking at story mechanics and how to build a structure of a story? Because if it's all just, you're raring to go and you've got an epic idea, either work on that idea, get it out of you, or take the time to study story. And then a really good way to move into your feature would be to start by applying that what you learn about crafting a story in short form first, and then perfect that, or at least polish that, work on it, make it be what it can be to fulfill what is required for a good story, and then expand and go on to the full feature.
Because yeah, the other part of it is the short film to me feels a lot more accessible to newer filmmakers, right? Because with a movie, you're spending so many days recording and planning it out. It takes over a year. But your short film took, I think, a week to at least do primary filming.
So it only took a day and a half for the filming.
Day and a half.
Yeah.
Because yeah, like, there's so many like, on YouTube of just like smaller short films, like student short films, and like even like stuff like Corridor Digital. I don't know if you know them, but yeah, like they're incredibly accessible. And you can pump those out almost on like a monthly basis if you really did your schedule for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, you could. Before we get ahead of ourselves, why don't we catch up a little bit? What's new in your life?
What was it, like 2 weeks since we last met? 3 weeks?
I think something like that.
Well, I participated in my first big script writing contest.
Oh, okay.
I think I talked to you about it a little.
Yeah, I remember.
It was called NYC Midnight. It was something I figured out through Instagram because a post showed up in my feed. It was an interesting challenge. The whole concept is you are given a really limited time frame to write a script based on a randomly generated prompt. So there was a whole bunch of people in my division that had the same prompt, so I'm competing with smaller people, and then I'm guessing it's like a bracket system. If I pass this one, I move on to another bracket where it gives me a smaller time frame and a different prompt. And same thing, if I get into the finals, I believe I had to write a script within a day.
Oh, well.
And but the page count shrinks, though, so it does match up. So I'm not writing like 10 pages every single time. But yeah.
And are you doing this by yourself or with a team?
I'm doing it with a co-writer. So it was a friend I met in college. They aren't a script writer. They're a full-on fiction writer.
Okay.
We found that not only us working together is a great way for us to continue writing, because both of us kind of struggle with just getting ourselves motivated and doing things, that it feels just more fun to do it with other people who care about what you're doing, and you have the instant feedback. Which is, why I like being a TV writer. It's already have a team instead of doing it solo.
Yeah. Seems like a good combination. Someone who's just kind of about the story. And I mean, a good writer for novel, but there's a different trade skill for screenwriting.
Yeah.
So you've got strength in story, strength in writing the screenplay, and lots of imagination on your end as well. So.
Exactly. Because, we do cover each other's differences, definitely. Because I'm definitely more stronger with characters and like comedy bits as well. Big actions and visuals, and where they're like definitely more in tune with the smaller things, the dramas and the really fine tunings of story as well. Right. So both of us together pretty much generate a pretty coherent story.
Cool. So when do you find out whether you go forward?
Probably sometime next month. I forgot the actual like date the results are revealed, but I would have to guess mid-April when we're recording this.
It'll probably be April or May by the time this airs.
Next episode, I'll let you know what happens. And then I'm assuming you've done a lot since you have your short film out now.
Well, that is the big news on my end. Finally completed the post-production of The Captive, my short film. It was filmed back in October. I'm out in the Lower Mainland, so we are looking forward to chatting a bit about that, which we'll do a bit later in the episode.
I am kind of curious, since you do live in Alberta, and you did all the filming, I believe, in Vancouver. What was it like just like commuting across provinces, like on almost like a weekly, daily basis?
No, I didn't have to.
Really?
So the filming I was out here for, all the pre-production I was out here for, filming, drove back to Calgary with all the video files. Well, I transferred them to my editor who lives out here, and then we could have Zoom meetings to do the editing, which was great. That worked fine. And then I passed the final cut to a composer who was in Brazil, actually. Had a connection there, and a really good composer, and so we also did sessions on Zoom. And then the sound editor also lived out here, was a connection to my editor, and so we also were able to do Zoom meetings as needed. And the colorist was out here as well. That all worked electronically.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was more thinking, you enjoyed racking up all your miles in your car. What was it like? It's a pretty daunting journey, isn't it? It's like over 20 kilometers.
To get from Calgary to Vancouver?
I feel like I'm definitely undershooting that number.
You're undershooting it. It's probably about 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah, okay. I really need to know the scale of a kilometer now. I think about it. I can't visualize that.
You know, it's you know, you don't have to be a geography major. You know, it's a skill that has some benefits, but you don't need it. Although if you ever go on a long trip, you should know generally how far a kilometer is.
Oh, no, fair enough. I was more thinking, like, are you like a GPS guy or a full paper map guy?
I am very much a Google Maps guy.
You'd never want to go back to paper maps?
You know, it's good to have a backup, because once all the digital things go down, I mean, we're highly dependent. So cover your bases.
Oh, I suppose so.
Once that EMP goes off and all our devices are fried.
I mean, it's a good thing you keep a full-on globe inside your car.
Yes.
I'm amazed it fits in your glove box.
Preparedness. So yeah, enjoying being back out here. Yeah, just good to connect with people again.
Which is always great. Vancouver is the place to meet people, isn't it?
Especially getting a start in this industry.
Right.
Connections are huge.
Well, starting about getting a start. You want to talk about your short films first?
Well, why don't we talk about yours first?
I'm really happy you said that, because I was really excited to talk about these three.
Yes,
So-
you had some really good picks. Why don't you sort of preface the first one?
Yeah, so I recommend you a 2D animation, 3D animation, and what I thought was stop motion, but actually was something called paper puppetry. I think I'll start with that one first. It's called Gruff.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about this one is it's made by one person instead of a studio or even a small team. It was made by a guy called Julian Curry, goes by the name Righteous Robot on YouTube, and released last year and did pretty well. 8.6 million views right now, and he was able to get on the news because of it. But yeah, it was a story about a super spy who lives both her spy life and kind of her family life, where she is kind of estranged from her father, who used to be a Western actor. But yeah, it was highly inspired by his life. If you watch it, it's incredibly, incredibly detailed and beautiful, because every single thing was handcrafted. Every single shot was filmed with a live action camera instead of taking the still photos of like stop motion. It was just really, really cool to watch. And not only that, a really emotional story about love and loss and family. So yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. I too thought the animation style was amazing, and I wasn't sure. Like it did strike me as stop motion at first, but I could tell that it was done using paper, and that there was real texture and real depth to that. So it's kind of a blend between 2D and 3D. But you're saying it wasn't actually stop motion?
It wasn't actually stop motion.
How did the movement get captured?
So what happened was he puppeted the different puppets, right, with like strings and poles. And using just VFX post-production, he just green screened those out.
Oh, okay.
Whenever like there's a different shot where it's like the lady on the motorcycle, when you have the front facing, you can't just move the character. It wasn't a full 3D model. It was actually just like a 2D piece of paper. So you had to make another puppet and essentially just stop the recording and then just reposition it. So it was kind of a blend of both stop motion and live action filming. It was just really, really, really hidden cuts, essentially.
Incredible. Like there's a future in that.
Yeah.
He's got to have done more already, I'm sure.
I actually have no idea. I hope he is, because it's an incredibly novel animation style. I haven't seen a lot of it done yet, especially because he really blended both the technology of film and the practicality of like something like stop motion together really well. Because apart from just green screening out the strings and the poles, whenever he does the mouth movements, if you really pay attention to it, it looks really, really smooth. And that's something you can't particularly capture with just taking a different mouth and then opening it a little bit more and then opening a little more. You would kind of notice it a little bit more, but it was smooth all the way through. And how he did that was just essentially kind of using something called an in-between to just blend every single one of those things together.
Fewer frames, but still showing
the
transition.
So that was another part of the stop motion kind of blending of it, because he took a little bit of the video where it was the one mouth, and then a little bit of video where it's another mouth, and then in production he just blended those two together like a merge.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it made it look really, really cool.
And I mean, the character cutouts that he had were also very well drawn.
Very well drawn.
So that added to the overall look of the film. And I felt like he was extremely economical with some of his motions that he was playing out. For instance, the one is a spy who does choreographed attack moves, and the way that he rendered those was to kind of do an anime style where it slow-mos after the punch or something, and it just shows the character in motion having just done a strike of some sort. And so it's actually very little movement, but you get the picture because we're used to that anime style where it just kind of shows the person doing that fighting move really up close and zoomed in and slow-mo right after they've done that. We know exactly what's happened, and he hardly had to animate it.
Yeah. Because, yeah, it was, according to his, you can find all his YouTube videos, like the production and his stories behind it online. But it was definitely, he said it was a labor of love, and you could see it with every single thing he put into it. You could see it in the fact that every single photo, there's like one scene where he had all those pictures in the background on the wall. Those were entirely different sets he had to build. Those were all entirely different props and characters he had to build just to put in a tiny picture in the background. And also the Western TV show that you see in there, there's an entirely different short film where it's the entire actual episode in full color. So you could watch that out
Right.
if you really want to.
And he made that one too.
He also made that one too. So it's like he overachieved to a level where I'm just in awe,
Right.
essentially. But yeah.
That's great. And yeah, I like the theme too, which is kind of the communication differences that we have, and even within families, someone's maybe a bit quieter for someone that you might sense that oh, that's because they don't love me, but they may love you, but they're still not very talkative. And so that was a meaningful message that came out of that.
Because, yeah, not only is it a beautiful short film, it's beautifully written. It's got an amazing plot to it, amazing characters, and it did make me cry a little bit at the end, which is achieving more than a lot of short films I've watched that actually made me feel genuine emotion. So, yeah.
Yeah, someone to keep an eye on for sure.
Definitely. So, I personally could not rate this short film less than 5 stars.
It gets 5, yeah. 5 out of 5.
So, yeah, 100%. I think this is the first time we've done a 5-star, so definitely watch this. Moving on, we can talk about our 2D animation film. It was made by, this is our first student film, actually. It's made by Goblins, which is a French animation studio based in France, of course. I love this one, right? Actually, to preface it, Goblins is an incredibly famous school, probably one of the biggest animation schools in Europe, potentially the world. And they have quite an interesting repertoire of like alumni. I believe the Despicable Me director graduated from there as well. Pierre Préfiel, DreamWorks Bad Guys, also another really cool film, and I loved both of them. Probably Bad Guys a little bit more than Despicable Me, but if you look at their YouTube channel, they post all of their short films from the graduates there, and they're all small teams, like 6 to 5, maybe a little bit 10, and they're professionally done as well. The sound editing is really amazing. They actually had gaffers and sound coordinators and composers for that as well as pretty like good voice actors. Out of all the short films, I want to recommend you this one because it's the one that made me laugh. A lot of the French animations, as well as short films that I've personally seen, are very, I guess, introspective, and they're very novel, I think. They talk about things I don't find in, like, Western animation or even live-action films. There's a lot about talks about family and sexual orientation and love that you don't really get to see. But yeah, this one genuinely did make me laugh because it was a office-style mockumentary on a French battlefield in like the 15th century against the French versus the English. And yeah, it's called, I'm going to mess up the pronunciation, but it's Childeric les nerfs de la guerre, which translates to Childeric, the nerves of war, because it's kind of just a Michael Scott general, kind of just showing that he is incompetent but confident.
Right. Yeah, it was funny. I felt like it had this kind of understated comedy style. It's not trying too hard, and yet it knows the comedy. The one example was the tapestry that he points out, and he's like, I like this one. It hasn't happened yet, but it gives me hope that it could happen. And the whole idea behind tapestries is it's accounts of things that have happened.
A lot of the short films I've seen on animation YouTube are student films. A lot of them from Goblins, and yeah, I mean, apart from Goblins, there's a couple other different animation schools that I probably should talk about that you could probably find online. ESMA is the French counterpart to Goblins that specializes in 3D animation. And again, it's the same like really cool French novel style of storytelling, so I definitely recommend checking out them. CalArts is the biggest one. If you're in the animation sphere, like even a little bit, you'll have heard of them. And they also make some incredibly cool 2D and I think 3D sometimes animated short films. Then for us Canadians, we have Sheridan, incredibly good with 2D as well, also 3D you'll find online. And then one I kind of found recently through doing my big letterbox list of over 600 short films is the Chungkang College of Cultural Industries, which is an incredibly cool South Korean animation school that produces some, again, pretty novel and beautiful animated short films as well. Unfortunately, can't find a lot of them on Letterboxd, but if you watch them online, there's a really, really cool one about like a fire police officer that I really loved watching, so that was cool.
So your other one was also French, your next one.
Yeah, so this one was actually not in France. It was based in Canada, I believe Ontario, because that's one of the places that does speak French. But it's called Le Gouffre, which translates to the Gulf. Released in 2015, and also did pretty well. 11 million views on CG Meetup, which is a YouTube channel that compiles a bunch of CG animated short films together. And yeah, this one was created by 3 Canadian filmmakers, where the other one, the 2D by Goblins, was 6 animated students. But yeah, I liked this one because it was really good structurally, and it was animally done pretty well, and it had a lot of tension. I'm kind of biased because I like Indiana Jones, and it was kind of an adventure film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are certain short films that I really just like seeing. Like, I like short films where you see something being built over time. So you have like a visual representation of a journey. And in this short film, they're building a bridge over a gap. And I really found it really cool that at the midpoint of this film, and I really, really love clever midpoints, but at the midpoint, they actually get to the middle of the gap.
Mm-hmm.
They get to this big pillar that's standing in the middle. And literally like 2 seconds after the storm happens. So an incredibly well done midpoint. But yeah, it's 10 minutes long, I believe. And it did come with a surprisingly cohesive like A and B plot, where it was the adventurers and then the villagers. And you explore both of them through the 2 main protagonists, who kind of give me the Nathan Drake kind of vibes, and his brother, which is really, really cool. One of them was definitely more adventurous and outgoing, and the other one was definitely more introspective and critical thinking. And yeah, it did make me feel really, really tense. It was an incredibly done action film.
Mm-hmm.
They are still producing other animated short films as well. I believe they have another one in development called Dinomancers, which seems like a really cool Jurassic World meets, I guess, The Witcher or the fantasy universe, combined with probably an action fighting video game. So that was really cool. Yeah, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I love that one too. Just really powerful storytelling over a short period of time. Not only was it a good story, I felt like it was good storytelling because they didn't need to use dialogue. Like, there's basically no dialogue in it.
It was mostly just grunts.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was grunts and like a little bit of cheers, but zero dialogue.
It was all like when they approach that gulf, that chasm, you know what they're supposed to be doing. You don't have to have hey, let's make a plan about building a bridge. Like, they don't. It's very good storytelling when you can do that without words. You know what their goal is. You show them what they're trying to accomplish, and you don't need words. So good storytelling. It was smart. I felt like, how are they going to do this? And then you realize, okay, there are sort of structural design techniques that you can use with ropes and force balancing on the top end of a bridge, and then getting to that midpoint, and then using wind to do the longer gap that was after the midpoint. By using sails to lift the cantilevered bridge to get you the final bit of the way, which was very smart. Yeah, the drama of now they had to wait for a storm to get that bit of wind, so that was part of the plan, but unfortunately with storms comes lightning and kind of winds that maybe you haven't planned for. Really good at just weaving natural parts of the environment and the world that we live in to be part of the story. And so that you don't have to feel like you're cheated in this story, because it's all very believable. The ill-fated final journey for one of them. It's
definitely a short film I think appeals to the structural engineers among us.
Yes.
Including you.
Yes.
I actually just didn't think that bridge could exist, but I think you could reckon that actually would work.
Well, it certainly could. I don't know about to the degree that they had, like with the distances they had, but if for the right amount of distance, it could work.
As the qualified structural engineer and and expert in concrete that you are.
That kind of storytelling appeals to me because you're using realistic elements of the world.
Which I love in short films when they go that extra mile to like make sure it could technically work, even in a medium where anything could happen. But yeah, I guess the only other thing I could really talk about this film is just the lighting, which I could talk about with every single one of these films as well. But lighting in the Gulf was amazing because if again talking about structure, I love it when structures are really really clever and they show the whole journey throughout. But it starts in daytime and it ends in nighttime. They have the flare gun as well, which I like as. Another thing about me is I love really, really cool setups for Chekhov's guns. And they do the flare gun a little bit at the beginning, they do the flare gun in the middle, and they do the flare gun at the end. And both of them cast red light, which is really, really cool lighting-wise. But it was a symbol for the villagers to know that they made it across safely, even though one of them didn't. But it turned from a moment of triumph to a moment of like, well, kind of also triumph, but it's a bittersweet moment.
It was tragic, and yet it was also like he was saying, like, we did it.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of giving them hope by that flare.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, an amazingly emotional, impactful film as well. Made by incredibly, really talented people. So, yeah.
Good choices. I would give that one 5 out of 5 too.
Yeah. Same with Lagoof. And then Childeric was, me personally, probably like a 4 as well.
I'd probably give that one a 3 for me.
Alrighty. But yeah, that's the extent of animation, at least a little glimpse into it. And again, I do have that letterbox list, so I'll probably link it on the bottom of this episode in case anyone wants to just have a list of, an easily accessible playlist of short films to watch that are animation for anybody who's interested in it, like me.
Very cool.
Then let's talk about yours.
Well, I brought a couple, including one that I made. So we'll start with the ones that I didn't make. So Roy is by writer and director Joseph Fifelsky. It's a sci-fi drama about a robot mechanic in some kind of apocalyptic future. He is someone who is known for his ability to make robots, fix robots. And this is a future where humanoid robots exist. As with anything that is built, things can break down. So it's a story about this robot who is experiencing kind of a breakdown that could mean the end of its existence, and so this robot is trying to find the tinkerer, the one who is known to be able to help with that kind of thing. So it's just this really unique sci-fi story. I'm a big sci-fi fan, so that's the and I should also preface this all with I haven't been a aficionado of short film, even of the genres that I enjoy. It hasn't been big on my list, but I know there's lots out there, and so I have kind of begun to get a bit more into it. But this one, I think what I liked the most of it was it was tense, like it managed to get some tension, but it was the theme. This one, the ones I picked, I kind of did less for an overall, like where it checked every box on all the things, but it got one thing very, very high, or did one thing very well. And so this one, to me, was the theme. The makers said the theme is all about how do we face those who are transformed by violence and angry at the world. People are affected by violence and despair. How do we have compassion on them? And how do we relate to strangers who have become bitter and jaded by the world? That's where they were coming from. And because, of course, this tinkerer, he ends up helping this person without any kind of need for repayment, even though she comes in very desperate. And I kind of felt like the theme was even deeper than that, because as we unfortunately have to spoil these as we talk about them, he ends up giving his own power source for her at the end and ends up dying. A great theme of sacrifice. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I do have to totally agree with you. I did feel incredible amounts of tension through the beginning of it, where you have that I guess you call it the Mexican standoff, right? And I did like that you did have a little bit of that character in the robot, where you know that she comes from a pretty really bad place. It was I'm blanking on the movie, but it's the one where it's the police cop that's looking for robots that are imperceptible from humans. Blade Runner, sorry, that's it.
Blade Runner,
yeah. So yeah, it had that kind of aesthetic to it, where it's like she's being hunted by people that want her back. And yeah, we do have a little bit of establishing that this robot tinkerer is kind of like I guess a rebel, I suppose, in kind of sense, of like a rebellion type, where he is underground helping robots fix themselves, I suppose. So it was cool to see that. And again, talking about lighting and effects and cinematography, incredibly beautifully shot. I really like that cool top-down shot where the the girl is walking through the snow. Really, really cool. I do have to be a little bit critical about it, just a tiny bit, because I didn't really see the mechanic doing that self-sacrifice being built up. It kind of happened a little bit too fast for me. Because, we were focusing on...
You really only see it in that last scene.
You really only see it in the last scene, right? Because it does establish, right? That was the part that didn't really click with me, is that this person has helped out a lot of robots.
They didn't build that up enough, no.
Yeah, so why is this one special, right? It could have just been like another, failed project or something, so you can't save everybody. And it was still kind of cool to see that one POV shot where she's looking at her hands, and she's got the new core in there. So that was cool, but I would have liked a little bit more character development, which I guess is part of the weakness of a short film, is that you only have that little bit of time to build things up. And in animation and also live action, from the stuff I've seen, the things that sometimes get sacrificed when you're looking for time is that first act setup of the information you do need to know. Because I found that a lot of short films start as close to the inciting incident as possible to get you really invested into it right away. I still wish that there was more character development, because the character of the mechanic is linked so much to the theme that I kind of want to know why we should be caring about people.
They needed a bit more, like even just like a minute more of showing him in who he is in this context. But it had I really also liked the aesthetic. Like they really made his shop seem like a textured real place.
Yeah, it was amazing set design.
Yeah,
they must have found some shed out in Moscow that was just already like that, I think.
And I also have to criticize a little bit the actor choice. The robot was great.
Yeah,
I felt like they could have maybe picked a better actor for the Tinkerer.
Oh, the Tinkerer.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was... The one thing I had was I couldn't really understand the robot through the accent a little bit.
Oh, the accent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's that. But as we all know, cybernetic organisms, the best ones have accents.
Oh, of course.
So I forgive them for that.
Yeah, and they did put in subtitles, so I was fine with that. So it was great.
But it really, as we'll talk a bit in a bit, that as a producer, there's a lot of boxes that have to get checked in, where you have to really perform ideally to the best for it to all come across and hit. There's just so many parts that you have to give attention to. It's tough.
Yeah, it's all creative decisions that you really have to do balance, right? It's part of things that can help but also hinder a plot, as well as, make things look nicer on film. I think I did say this before on like an earlier podcast episode, but I'm the kind of person that does value plot a little bit more than the beauty of a film, even though I can be a little bit more biased towards animation because it's just too beautiful for me. I always find, even though the short films I've recommended to you are all beautifully done, there are many short films that are really simply, like you use the stock Blender assets. I don't know if you know too much about it, but really, I guess, beginner. Feels wrong to call it beginner or even amateur, but yeah, simple. Using the stuff that's only available to you, that are amazingly done plot-wise, incredibly done with story, which is why short films are incredibly accessible to the beginning filmmaker. But yeah, I'd have to rate Roy probably 3.5 stars, personally. I wanted there to be a little bit more, but it was really cool and enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I'd probably give it about the same.
Yep.
Maybe 3.75.
3.75. Gotcha.
The next one that I brought was Hidden, which is an experimental short film, they call it.
Yeah, experimental was definitely a word I could use to describe it as well.
Yep, made in 2022 by writer and director Ugar Gench. I'm going to say Gench. I don't actually know how to pronounce that last name, Genc. And then also VFX artist and camera operator Patrick Schmidt. I picked this one not so much because of the plot, because it was kind of less plot heavy or at least less developed. And I did it more for the technical execution.
Yeah, which I did respect. As a person who does know a little bit about CGI, the ending part where I guess... When I watched it with my friend, he was like, oh, it's the mecha rising out of the lake. But no, it was a big black box, and then the rock glowing, and I thought, it was pretty good. It kind of matches the digital aesthetic, something from Corridor Digital, which I should talk to you about more. It's a YouTube channel that does specialize in CGI. It has a lot of CGI short films on YouTube. But yeah, it was technically well done. Cinematography-wise, again, amazing lighting-wise, amazing shot placement.
Yeah, that's what stood out for me too. when I watched it. Just the color, another aspect that I didn't really know a lot about before going in, but that all these projects have to be color graded, and it makes such a difference when you go in, depending on what feel you want a scene to have, where your shooting locations are, to accentuate what's there, to give it, tweak the ambiance and the feel. They did a great job. And then they even had a drone shot when they're driving on the road. It's just a beautiful shot of the drone rising up as the car is moving on a road at dusk. And I think they might have done this to prove that you can shoot at dusk.
Yeah.
It's one of the more technically challenging things to do.
Yeah.
But if you pull it off, it just looks awesome, because dusk is just this moody kind of time.
Yeah, I mean, they call it golden hour for a reason, right?
So I think they did this. This is just me interpreting, because I couldn't find much about the filming, the background of this film, but I think they did this to basically try out their technical expertise and give themselves a challenge. How do we make this look the most beautiful we can with this type of shot, and put it all together? I don't know for sure if there is meaning behind the "we have found it" kind of thing and this giant cube raising at the end.
Yeah, I think that must have been more in tune with the plot that they were kind of insinuating to.
I mean, they say the line is, "It has been found below stone, wood, and sea. It is hidden right before our eyes."
Yeah, I guess the aliens are very poetic. I'm going to have to just go with.
If you're going to be overrun by aliens, at least, if they're poetic. It's maybe
exactly, right? Like, a
more pleasant subjugation.
Yeah, as we all know, the extraterrestrials are well-versed in Ernest Hemingway, so...
That's why they chose to come take us over.
Exactly, right? Yeah, when I watched it, I didn't see it first as an experimental short film, and the way it does open didn't tell me it was an experimental short film. Because, when it comes to... Because there is dialogue, technically speaking. There is text, like you said. It was a black screen with a white text over it, as well as an actual text message. So I really did think this was going to be an action sci-fi. It's going to be him unlocking some alien secrets. But no, in total, it really was just kind of like a guy walking through the woods to get to a lake, which is, I'm going to call it the Bob Ross, where it is just really, really beautiful. But yeah, as like I said, I did value plot a little bit more, so I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't see the big box rising out of the lake, because I kind of felt like it got good then, and then it was over. The other question is, because I always look too far into plots in movies, why is this guy sitting in his car at 2 o'clock in the morning waiting for a text with a rock in his bag? I don't know. But yeah, it feels wrong to ask, I kind of wanted more, because that wasn't what they were aiming for. They were aiming to achieve, like you said, I guess, a flexing of their expertise and their technological know-how in making a short film, and of course getting that drone shot in sunset to just show off that we can do it. And again, if that was the goal they were trying to achieve, they definitely achieved it, and they achieved it well. I guess you could also see it as a concept for a larger series if you really, really wanted to do it. But again, I don't know if they're going with the whole world building that they're doing here, if they're going to expand upon this world they're building. But yeah, overall, I mean, it feels wrong to give it a bad score, because I don't want to say it's not a short film.
I mean, I dock it for the plot, but other than that technical side, I think I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to raise Roy to 4 too, because I really like the theme, and I'm just docking it for the lack of character development and the acting choice.
Yeah. I have to go for a 3 because I do value plot, but yeah. Again, if you want to. The other cool thing about short films is a really good way just to see a really quick... It is, because again, it is short films. They do take about a really, really small amount of time to do. You can quickly see how a film is done, filming technique, story, cinematography in a very short amount of time. So I definitely recommend this to somebody who aspires to be a drone operator or, a nature documentary, or, you have a wood in your backyard and you want to film it. This is a really cool way to figure out how to do shot placement, how to do water, and also CGI as well.
Yep.
It was, again, as from a person who knows CGI a little bit, it was pretty well done. The water physics of the box rising out, I couldn't really say anything bad about it.
And the glowing of the rock.
Yeah, the glowing of the rock. Definitely there. It was a simple shot, but it worked.
That's one thing that I haven't gotten into yet. Hopefully I get into that at some point.
CGI?
Yeah.
You want to experiment around with it?
Because it's going to be, as I continue on in filmmaking, hopefully, CGI is going to intersect with my stories at some point.
Because CGI for me is is the natural intersect between animation and live action. Because if you film something live action, you're constrained by the realities of our world. Where animation you're not, but CGI allows you to put in those fantastical elements into live action world at a fairly reasonable cost. Animation is a time-consuming thing. Live action is shorter on the production side. So, yeah, they're incredibly accessible. I can see why a lot of people do try CGI when you look at YouTube animation as well, or YouTube short films.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say go for it, definitely, if you want to look at that route.
Yeah. I hope I meet up with some talented CGI artists and make some connections.
Because I guess as a really interesting segue into talking about your short film, if you had access to it, would you have used CGI in your short film? Since it is kind of like a psychological thriller, almost sci-fi-y.
I didn't, like, I wrote this to need no CGI. I wanted to write it, there's a bit of a background on my film in the production for writers class. Did you take that class?
No, I didn't, because I was an animation guy, and I didn't.
Right.
And
You didn't feel like you wanted to get the production of live action.
yeah, and it was also the fact that it was limited amount of people, and I felt like I'm kind of taking away a spot from somebody who'd like it a lot more than me.
Right.
So I held back because of that, which makes me sound more high and mighty than I really did. I just didn't want to. I already knew what life is like on a film set from reading behind the scenes stories. I was like, I'm okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed that class.
Yeah,
I learned a lot and got a lot of experience when we got to actually film. Every person in the class, about 20 of us, each wrote a short film, 7 pages. I think it was between 5 and 8 pages it had to be. And then we voted on 4 to become the ones that we would be divvied up into groups, and each group would make one of those 4. Mine did not get picked at that point, but I got a lot of experience on the one that I did make. I took that experience and went and made mine afterwards. Definitely a very cool experience.
Yeah. So I know a couple of stories, and I guess I'll try prompting you to tell them on our podcast as well. But yeah, the reason I brought up CGI is because you actually did use some practical effects in your film.
Yeah.
The smoke in the lamp and again, as a person, like, I did establish that when I talked about the goof, I liked really cool setups, and you set up the fact that she was going to escape from her bindings by burning the rope using a hot lamp, which I'm now kind of freaked out that might actually happen because my sister does crochet and she crochets messily. So, but yeah, did you actually just use a smoke machine in that lamp?
So I got very old-fashioned and practical, and I burned a piece of paper.
Oh.
And it was just such a close-up of the top of the lamp. I could be under the lamp, under the lampshade with a barbecue lighter and a piece of paper or cardboard. I think it was just paper, because even just white paper gives a good puff of smoke after you blow it out. So you light it, you blow it out, and then the smoke puff.
Oh, I see. So you weren't actually it wasn't on fire while you were filming. Okay, gotcha.
You don't need it. It gives enough smoke for a good 3 or 4 seconds. And it came off, I would say, looking pretty realistic.
Yeah, no, that was really good. Because, like, I did think that was, like, for a second I thought that was CGI, but yeah, no, that actually was a practical effect. I can only imagine the health and safety forms you had to fill out for doing that.
Well, but it was my friend's house. I can't remember if I told him we were using fire effects or not, but I felt pretty confident that I would keep it under control. There
was a couple probably moments in there where because I read the VFS when we were doing the production. I did read the notes for things that you couldn't do, such as like weapons or like touching the actor. But like you had your main actress go through like a couple, I would call it stunts, right? You had the scene where she did get kidnapped, where she had the bag thrown over her head, as well as her escaping from the bindings on a rope. Did you have to talk to your actress about like, we're going to be doing this to you, and like she?
Yeah. She was okay with everything. We explained exactly how it was all going to be conducted and what the kind of the safety protocols were. And I mean, the bag over the head, I wouldn't call that a stunt. But whatever it might be classified as, I don't know.
Because I feel like when I looked at the rules of VFS, I feel like that would have been classified as like too much, which honestly to me it's like, yeah, it's all right. It's not going to be like actually got kidnapped, but
I'm not sure. But she was totally fine with it. What I hope it came across was that it felt like an abduction, that it felt like it was what it was supposed to be portrayed as.
Yeah, at least nobody got hurt, which is the more important thing when it comes to filming.
And actually that is something that I learned to really think things through. I learned so much over this process.
Yeah.
Working with the light was actually the most dangerous thing, because they were very bright bulbs, and they were metal bulb coverings, and they got really hot.
Yeah.
And so we had to, I told Valeria, the actress,
don't touch them.
Don't touch these. They're very hot. And I didn't realize how hot they would get at first.
I mean, you did write in I was going to burn rope, so.
Well, that was the bulb part, not the
not the holder.
Not the holder.
Oh, I see.
We didn't realize how hot those were going to get. And thankfully, she didn't get burned, but we realized as, we were working with them and, we'd get close to them, oh, that's really hot. You just have to think of everything as a producer. Don't leave anything to chance, and then you can lay out what protocols you need for safety.
Oh, I got you, because I don't want to derail it too far, but when I was in high school and I was tasked with making a short film, I did get one of my actors injured, even though we took as many precautions as possible. We had him do a chair fall, which was, he leans back in his chair and falls, and we had a crash mat in place. The thing is we didn't expect is when he fell, he raised his arms out, so it goes over the crash mat, so he hit the floor with his arms. And we did it on a stage. So apparently the stage had splinters in it.
Oh boy.
So this content warning, graphic details, content warning. He got a sliver in his finger through that, so we had to stop filming for that to get it out. I mean, luckily it was in high school, so the nurse's office was just down there.
Right.
But yeah, no. Luckily though, we got the shot. that was his death scene. We didn't need him anymore. But
more blood than you needed, but
yeah, more blood than we needed.
Yeah, no, you when you see that the film when she does her escape, she's using very methodical movements to pull the light to her, to rotate it, to position it. That's because on that was the final take. After we kind of worked it through that it was going to be really hot and really awkward to try to get this. There was a few takes when she was trying really hard to do all that motion just because that's what the script said, but she couldn't quite do it, and we had to figure it out what those motions would be. But we finally got it, pulled it off great.
Yeah, no, because that was an incredibly tensely done scene. I think the escape and definitely the standoff with I guess you call it the kidnapper. What was the name you gave it again?
The captor.
The captor, it is. Yeah, incredibly tense filmmaking and really well done shot placement. And again, like I said, I like referencing things I talked about with the Guff. I liked how you use that light as both a dramatic lighting thing as well as a prop as well. So yeah,
I had a great director of photography, Bruno Peter Puente Peter. Really good with the shots, shot placement. Really good colorist as well. Made really good choices to accentuate kind of the yellows in the basement scene. Really happy with how it looked. Yeah, and again, this is your first short film, right? That you've ever actually gone through the whole process. Yeah,
it was pretty cool, dude.
Thanks, appreciate it.
I guess the only thing I could really say about it is there was that one scene at the end where you had this really cool scene where it was the Amazon delivery guy, he was carrying an Amazon box, who was coming up to deliver it, and I only noticed on the second rewatching, but he had the name tag of one of the the trolls from the Twitch chat on him. That I kind of wanted to say I kind of wanted to see more of that, more indications that this was the dream world.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, so I wanted to ride that line of is it or isn't it? Is it real or isn't it? And so I didn't want to make it too overt that it definitely is. But it is. It's all in her mind. And so that's how that ties in. Is she's having a kind of a personified experience with the online negative voices.
Fair enough, dude. Speaking of which, did you have to create a new Twitch channel just to do that shot?
So I did actually create a Twitch channel, a Twitch stream, with a profile named, both of them, Static Blade and Still Voice.
Oh, sick.
So we got the chats coming up because we actually signed in. And
because, again, like you said, there was no CGI used. So you had to actually time all those things together.
Yeah.
Including the text messages from the mother. Sorry. Including the text messages from the mother. So all of that, I'm guessing somebody had to sit off to the side just sending those messages off.
So for the Twitch, yes. That was done kind of by someone signed in as we were doing the shot. For the text messages, I created all those text messages and then kind of photoshopped them together because those you didn't need to see them pop in.
Yeah.
Those the sound editor puts in the vibration sound, and then she just looks at the phone and it's static. And so that was something I still had to spend some time photoshopping them because it has to look like they came in as natural texts the way it would on your text app. So I built those.
So there was a little bit of, I guess, digital trickery, just a tiny bit, but it was just Photoshop, which also included the really cool photo you did, where you actually took the actual actress's family photo and just cropped her out of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is really, really cool. I didn't realize.
Yeah, and again, I got her permission. Valeria was great because she offered these family photos and her photos of herself. I asked her to find any photos that you have where you're not smiling, where you look as unhappy as possible. And I mean, we probably all have some of those, but she had a few really good ones, and she graciously let me Photoshop some of them.
An incredibly good Photoshop job.
Thank you.
Genuinely did not see anything wrong with it.
I actually went as far as to find a shadow effect, so you can actually see her shadow.
That's really good, dude. That's really good. Because, that Photoshop is a very, very interesting beast to tame. If you know how to do it right, I'm impressed.
Thank you.
But yeah. Actually, another side note, when I watched it for the first time at 2 o'clock in the night, when he did get to that box scene and he opened it up, I actually thought he put worms inside of it instead of a chain. And I genuinely had a physical reaction to it. I'm like, oh my God.
You were expecting worms so much.
I was expecting worms so much, yeah. I thought you were going to go full psychological thriller. But no, it was chains. I mean, I did watch it 2 o'clock at night in the morning, so.
Interesting. Okay. So you want any kind of reaction.
I suppose so. I mean, I guess for your next short film, you should look into how to put worms into your short film, I suppose.
If it ups the reaction that much, I'll put in notes about worms.
Yeah, I mean, a sci-fi thriller seems definitely because side note, this is kind of the first time I've actually seen your content. I actually haven't gotten the chance to actually read one of your scripts in a while, even while I was in VFS. So it was cool to see your writer voice on screen. But yeah, is sci-fi thriller kind of your forte?
Well, sci-fi and fantasy have been what I've probably invested the most time into, certainly leading up to school. School, as I think I've talked about before, wanted us to learn how to write character drama. And so I actually delved more into that side and developing those skills of just pure character drama with thriller elements, because that just makes... That's kind of what I tend to create. When I can't do special effects like sci-fi and fantasy, I still want to add in kind of tenseness, drama, and something thrilling.
Yeah, which does match up with all the live-action films you kind of recommended me, like Pitch Black and also Tremors. You seem to really like the monster genre as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's great stuff to be had with the creature features. And so, to answer your question, I think that's where I will lean back into the more opportunity I have with filmmaking. But as goes with early projects, they need to be lower budget, and that means less sci-fi, fantasy, and monsters.
But once you start looking into CGI, definitely an interesting path to go down.
Yep.
Yeah. I definitely have to recommend your short film to anybody who wants to watch it. Which, are you planning to post on YouTube? Is there a place where anyone can find your short film?
So, unfortunately, as I've also learned with the short film world, when you want to go the route of submitting it to festivals, and I feel like I want to give this the opportunity that way, let it sort of find its wings as much as possible.
Yeah.
You generally can't have it available to public when you submit to short films. That's one of the requirements. That can take time, 6 months, a year. I've heard of people waiting 2 years before they make their film public because they want to be in that many festivals, or try to.
Yeah.
You may not make it in the ones you try, but you kind of have to abide by their stipulations while you're waiting.
I guess.
So if people contact me, they will be able to. I can send them a private link.
Yep.
But unfortunately, it can't be public for a little while anyway.
No, fair enough. So I guess in that sense, I suppose before we end it off, you probably should give a summary of your film, just for people to visualize it internally then.
The Captive tells the story of Samantha, who's an artist and a streamer who also has a very low self-image. She struggles with self-worth. She gets a lot of negative and hateful comments online. One evening, she suddenly gets abducted from her bedroom, finds herself in a basement, bound, and with her masked captor, who is telling her that he has been watching her for a long time and wants to punish her for being rejected by the world. Now, Samantha has to, when she's left alone, basically she has to find the courage to make an escape.
And afterwards, she does end up escaping, but it does get revealed that it's kind of all in her head.
And that's where the theme comes in. This is highly thematic. That's how I spawned this from the beginning, which is it's possible for us to listen to the wrong voice and repeat that voice to ourselves, and then we keep ourselves locked in a place bound by those voices. Now, there is obviously a separate message out there about bullying and like how that is wrong, and this is just another part of that, which is we also have a choice when we hear a voice, when we hear that negative voice coming at us. Of course it's wrong that that's being done to us, but we also have to choose what we do with that voice.
Yeah.
And I always believe that there is positive voices out there too. They might be quieter. They might be something that isn't as loud and in your face or as prevalent, but we might have to struggle to listen to that smaller voice that is telling us the truth about ourselves.
Yeah. And it does end up quite nicely. I believe with just like all the frustration built inside of her, she does end up wanting to continue the art that she likes doing. So it was a nice ending.
Yeah, so I wanted to do both the cautionary tale and the positive ending. And so the way I ended up accomplishing that was
Post-credit scene.
and end with the tragic ending where she basically chooses to be bound again by the negative voice. And it's a cautionary tale, but wait for the end of the credits because there is another scene, and that is her basically choosing to listen to the positive voice.
I suppose that hopefully at some point in the near future, you'll be able to watch this in some capacity. Possibly, I would recommend YouTube if you don't want to upload it.
Let me know what you think.
I guess to all the people out there, if you want to leave the comments on anything, keep looking out for Jason because he is technically now made his directorial debut and production company debut as well, I suppose. What can we expect more from you, Mr. Plett?
We'll see. Lord willing, I will continue on in this journey of filmmaking. Got lots of scripts. I've got lots of ideas. So now that I'm armed with a little bit of knowledge and experience as well, we'll see what happens. Filmmaking definitely costs money, so there's that barrier.
There's always Patreon. But yeah, I suppose thanks again for listening. A lot of short films out there, so we'll keep a couple links in the description for you to watch.
Thanks again. We'll catch you later in the next episode. Jay and Dave went to film school. Signing off.
Yeah, signing off. And that's a wrap.
Special thanks to Niranj, who made the intro and outro music for this podcast. You can find him on Instagram at his handle @NiranjD. That is @NIRANJD on Instagram.